So let's go back to UNLV, Jerry. Talk to us about building the program at UNLV.
Well, we had a lot of good support. We had a lot of good fans and everything. But they didn't believe we were going to be a real major college team. Because most of the people in Las Vegas are sports-minded people. But they got their team in New York, in Steubenville, in Youngstown. Those were all the dealers from those places. And, they didn't care about us, but they cared about us, but they were primarily about their town. Then after a while, they started turning on the tube, and we're playing their team, and we're beating their team. And they started coming around, and then they became really rabid fans. Really rabid fans.
Jerry, what was it like when you look up during the game and you see Frank Sinatra or Sammy Davis or some of the great entertainers there attending your games once you got it rolling?
We didn't see Sinatra at the games, but he was always helping us. He did a fundraiser. He'd make $100,000 in one night for us. And he got really close with Lois and I. Every time he'd come to town, he'd have dinner with Lois and I. But he never came to a game. He was supposed to come about 3 or 4 times. He had everything roped off and set up, and he never showed up.
How'd you guys become friends?
The guy who got me going on a job, he got me, I was supposed to work at Caesar's Palace, but they wrote an article in the paper a coach should be working at a casino, so the university backed away, so they gave me a job writing a column for a newspaper. And I was supposed to work for Ash Resnick, who was a great guy.
I know Ash very well.
Yeah, Ash was a great guy. And Ash was real close with all those guys. Ash was at Caesar's Palace when I got the job. I remember the first time I met Ash. I mean, I'd known Ash for a little while. I went to see him, and this black guy lets me in his office. He's got jeans on. I thought he was a janitor. It was Harry Belafonte. I came home to Lois. She went nuts.
And so Ash was the guy who introduced you to Frank Sinatra?
I'm not sure if he introduced, probably.
Uh-huh.
Ash was a great guy.
Jerry, what was your most powerful team at UNLV, the one that was your favorite?
Well, our 77 team went to Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
Our team the year before was just as good. We got beat by Arizona in overtime at UCLA.
And who was your favorite Rebel player?
Maybe Robert Smith. Robert Smith was the greatest guy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Reggie Theus.
What about Larry Johnson?
Oh, yeah. Larry Johnson was my favorite.
And you coached your son Danny, and most coaches would say their favorite player was their son.
I had so many good players at UNLV. Our 77 team was a great team. We shot the hell out of the ball.
You guys were also really good defensively, too.
Very good defensively. We played man-to-man defense all after my second year in Vegas. We played all man-to-man.
Jerry, what was it like coaching your own son?
You know what? Before I did it, I got close with Al McGuire.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Al about it. Al said he would never do it again. He advised me not to do it. But before Danny, I had Greg Gorgon. And Greg was a great kid, but just couldn't play the point at all. And we had a hard time with Greg.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he scored 19, 20 points a game, and we were a very good team. We got beat by the Air Force Academy, and Louis went to see Daddy playing in Dixie Junior College. And they had a tournament, and he made all tournament. While he's waiting for his award, they announced some scores. They announced Air Force beat UNLV. And Louis said Daddy was in tears. He said, I got to go to UNLV. He said, Dad lost the Air Force. The Air Force was really bad those days. And that Daddy decided to come to UNLV. Before he came to UNLV, we were recruiting 3 guards. One was from Compton. One was from Southern Idaho, I think, and the other was Danny. And I had my assistants go look at all of them. And I said, hey, you guys tell me who we want. I said, but I want you guys to know if I take Danny, he's starting. I said, he's not going to sit on the bench. But I said, you guys go decide. And we all drove out. They had an all-star game at Dixie College, and we all drove out to the all-star game. And Danny got MVP of the all-star game. He played real well. And they all said Danny. And it turned out good. I mean, it really turned out good.
But Jerry, I was told there's a story behind this whole thing with Danny, that when Danny came out of high school, I know he's always an outstanding student in the classroom, but I heard that you encouraged him to go to Dixie College despite the fact that he had a scholarship to USC, and Lois wasn't too happy about that, huh?
Yeah, that's true. Story. He was going to Reno to play football and basketball. Chris Ault was the football coach, and Sonny Allen was basketball coach. I really liked Sonny.
Yeah.
And I wanted Danny to do that. And we're in Hawaii with a Nike, one of our Nike trips.
Coaches trips, yeah.
And they picked up the newspaper, and Sonny Allen's son is going to Reno. He was supposed to go to Missouri. And I called Danny. I said, Danny, don't you go. Danny was supposed to leave the following that Monday morning while we were in Hawaii to Reno. And I said, Danny, don't you go anywhere till I get home. And he says, Sonny Allen already called me. Daddy says, it's going to be all right. He said, we can play both of us together. I said, that's bullshit, Danny. He said, yeah, I'm a coach. He's talking to a coach. He's not going to play 2-point guards. So I said, don't you go anywhere. So I come home, and Danny had his car packed. He was going up to Reno. And so we had to decide where he was going to go to school. And I had a basketball camp at Dixie College, and I liked to coach there, and it was a nice community and everything. So I thought that'd be a good place. And then Stan Morrison comes in. Stan really liked that. He comes in, and Stan's a good salesman. He comes in, did a good job. He sold Lois on SC, and Danny was sold on SC. And I told Danny that Danny got a sophomore starting point guard. I forget his name. And I said, you're going to go there? And I said, you're not going to get to play much. And everything. I talked him out of it. Lois got so pissed off, she threw me out of the house. She threw me out of the house. So I got Mike Tony to give me a room at the Desert Inn. I got a room at the Desert Inn. I had room, food, and beverage for 3 days.
You were exiled from your own house. One of you.
But I had room, food, and beverage for 3 days.
Oh, good. Hey, Jerry, another untold story, at least that most people don't know, is back in the old days when they had the Olympic trials, they would have they would bring different teams together. They'd have a junior college team, an AAU team, a four-year college team, an armed forces team, and so forth. And you coached the junior college all-stars in that Olympic trials and just dominated them. Tell us about that experience.
We were prize team and the whole thing. We had Spencer Haywood on our team. He was a junior college kid, and I had my own kids, George Raveling, Sam Robinson. We had a good team. We had the trials. Me and Sid Phelan were the two coaches from California. We had one from being from upstate New York was a coach. And the other junior college coach, all he cared about was the press conferences. He wanted to go to all the press conferences. And all I wanted to do was coach. So I wound up coaching. He went to the press conferences. I was happy with that. But we had a junior college all-star team. We beat the NC2A all-star team.
In 4 years.
And they had, Charlie Scott was
from North Carolina.
Yeah, he was on that team, and I forget who else was on the team. I think Ray Myers coached the team.
Yeah, from DePaul.
Yeah, and we beat them, and we won the first game. We lost the second, but we won the third game. I think we finished like second in that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And Spencer Haywood got MVP of the tournament.
Jerry, one of the things that always fascinated me about you, because I followed your coaching career very closely, we pretty much followed a parallel course in coaching, was that you always believed in giving players a second and third chance, even though they might have made a mistake here or there. Tell us a little bit what was behind your philosophy in giving second and third chances to players.
Well, I had a lot of chances too. I know I wasn't a good student. I screwed around when I was young. But I don't know if that was the reason. But I think a lot of that was way overdone. We had good kids here. We had really good kids. There's never been a team that had better kids than our 90 team that won it all. With Larry Johnson, Stacy Ogman, Greg Anthony. I mean, I kid Mike Krzyzewski all the time about that. Mike is really good because all he did was praise our guys. Mm-hmm. And I tell Mike all the time, I said, Mike, not only did we have better players than you had that year, we had better guys than you had. And he laughs like hell at that. He didn't believe that, I don't think.
Jerry, you're a strong advocate from a coaching philosophy perspective of playing hard and keeping things simple. Tell us about your coaching philosophy as it relates to that.
I really felt that when you make so many coaches put so much in a guy's head that they don't play hard. You know, we were very simple in everything we did. Everything we did was simple.
Try to free up their minds.
Free up their minds.
Jerry, another story that I've heard told was there was a time 5, maybe 6, 7 years ago that you were in South Bend and you were having dinner with Dick Vitale and Digger Phelps, and so during the dinner. There's a group of people sitting a few tables away, very nicely dressed in suits and ties and so forth. And when they finish, one of the guys gets up from the table and comes over to the table where you and Vitale and Digger are sitting, and introduces himself and tells you how much he has admired you as a coach and a great job you did at Unlv. And then he left and never spoke to Vitale, never spoke to Digger, and they were probably a little taken back by that. And so tell us about that story.
Now, I took a bunch of friends from Fresno to the Notre Dame game. And there was this Italian restaurant in South Bend. Can't think of the name, but the guy was a real fan of mine. He was so happy that I was there. That every time we went back there, he they had us fixed up. Anyway, there was a guy donated $43 million to Notre Dame, and they were honoring him while we were there. And that's $43 million. And we're sitting with this owner for this restaurant, and there was a group of these guys, like you said, that were sitting away from us, and they were dressed up and looked pretty nice. And they were pretty well built guys. And I commented to the owner, I said, "Is that former football players from Notre Dame?" He said, "No, that's the John Gotti family."
The mafia, John Gotti.
And we were stunned.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had everybody, entertainers, mafia, everybody were great admirers of what you were getting done at UNLV. And
I'll tell you what, there more people loved UNLV. It was really amazing.
Well, it's a tribute to what you got done there when probably most people never, in their wildest imagination, ever thought you could get that program to the level of achievement that you did.
I think we were really lucky, though. Getting Larry Johnson solidified us too. But we had a great group of guys that year. Larry and Stacy and Greg and Anderson. They were a great group of guys.
That whole starting five played at least 1 year in the NBA, didn't they, Jerry?
You know what? Anderson Hunt never played in the NBA.
Anderson, okay.
And then my big center never played. Ackles didn't play, or David Butler didn't play. But they were good players. They were really good.
You know, talking about the NBA, Jerry, all the success that you now had accumulated, Pasadena City College, Long Beach State, UNLV. So it was inevitable that some NBA teams were going to come and make offers to you. Now, talk about the offers that you had and the experience in coaching at the NBA level.
I had a lot of offers from the NBA one time. I had the Lakers twice. I had the Lakers job twice. First time when Bill Sharman retired, and Jack Kent Cook was the owner, and he offered me a job, and I was excited about it and all that stuff because it was the Lakers and everything. And he invited me to come to his house for an interview, and he had Pete Newell was his GM, and Pete was my idol. You know, I just loved Pete. I don't like to say this publicly because people get pissed off, but I always felt he was better than Wooden.
Mm-hmm.
He was the best. And he picks me up at the airport, takes me to Jack Kent Cook's house, and Charm is there, Jerry West is there. Not Jerry West wasn't there, Charmin, Chickern, forget it, what else was there. Pete was there, and anyways, they asked me a question. They had the draft rights to Magic Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me, he said they were offered to Junior Bridgman from Milwaukee. And Reggie Theus was coming out that year. They were offered those two guys for the draft right. And they said, well, what would you do if you had your choice? And like a fool, I said, hell, I'd take Reggie and Junior Bridgman. Reggie was my guy. And of course, it's a good thing they didn't. Mm-hmm. But while we were at that house, they were talking about what they needed to win. They needed a rebounder. And they asked if they could get a trade for Sidney Wicks, who was 1 year, it was after his first year in the league. Mm-hmm. They get Sidney Wicks and another rebounder for that draft choice. What would you do? And they said, could you win if you had them? And Pete Newell wasn't paying attention, I guess. So he says, yeah, he says, if we did get a rebounder, we could win. And Jack Kent Cook jumped all over his feet. I've never seen Pete was scared. I backed down. And Jack Kent Cook really embarrassed him. And that was basically one reason why I turned the job down, because I just admired Pete.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, if he can embarrass Pete, what the hell did he do to me?
What were some of the other offers, Jerry?
I had Portland Trail Blazers when they first started.
Mm-hmm.
I got a job for Roland Todd. The Clippers countless times. Well, the owner would always call me, but the other guy,
Sterling?
yeah, Sterling would call me, but Elgin Baylor never did. Sterling invited me to a lot of his Christmas,
Christmas parties?
Not Christmas parties, drafty parties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was offered that job about 3 times.
What was the toughest part about coaching in the league?
No practice.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first thing Tim Duncan would say, Coach, don't forget we play tomorrow. We play tomorrow. You hear that all the time.
And so that was a huge adjustment for you to get used to preparing a team on with a limited amount of practice time.
Yeah.
Jerry, when you look back on coaching in the NBA, do you think that you made a mistake going to the pros, or you look back and just count it as a learning experience?
You know what? It wasn't that I didn't dislike it that bad, and I really think I would have won there. Except my general manager was a bad guy. He never met me. He never met me. The owner hired me without him ever meeting me, and the owner was Red. I can't even think of his name.
Oh, it was a car dealer in Dallas?
Yeah, in San Antonio.
San Antonio, yeah.
Red. He flew up. He called me when I was at the 504 in Minneapolis. Freddie Glucksman answered the phone. And he called me and he wanted me to come to a Laker game. San Antonio was playing the Lakers. He said he wanted to talk to me about the San Antonio job. I had already been offered the Philadelphia job. I got to be good friends with the owner of Philadelphia, and I've always regretted that. Because I think I would have liked him, the owner of Philadelphia. Billy Cunningham used to come to town all the time when the season would end. And I'd go to dinner with Billy and the owner. And then when I got let go of UNLV.
Red Combs.
Yeah, Red Combs was the one. And when the owner of Philadelphia called me and he said, Coach said he was making a change. He was moving his coach. I can't think of his name. He was moving his coach up
To the GM?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, would you like to be the coach of Philadelphia? I said, yeah, I would. He said, well, I'm coming to town. He said, let's have dinner. I said, don't tell anybody about it. I'm going to keep it quiet. But he offered me a job, and I accepted the job. And I was going to have Danny go meet with him on the negotiations and everything. And in the meantime, Red Combs called me. And I took the San Antonio job because I just thought San Antonio had Tim Duncan, they had Sean Elliott, and they had a guard who I loved from DePaul.